Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I Rise Above Breast Cancer Wellness Collective webinar series. Today, I would like to welcome Dana Donofree. Excuse me. Dana founded AnaOno out of her own necessity and desire for not only beautiful, but comfortable lingerie after her own breast cancer diagnosis in 2010. With a degree in fashion design from Savannah College of Art and Design and a successful industry career, she took her experience and applied it towards launching AnaOno Intimates, designed differently. Dana's story has been featured on USA Today, The Today Show, New York Times, and many others. She has been listed as an Inc. 100 female founder, Forbes Next 1000, and Vogue has highlighted AnaOno as a brand modernizing bras. Even with these accomplishments, she is most proud of making a difference in the lives of people worldwide and is honored to be continued to spread her mission of boob inclusion. Because everyone deserves to feel beautiful, one breast, two breasts, no breasts, or new breasts. Today, Dana will present a webinar titled Reclaiming Your Mind, Body, and Heart After Breast Cancer. Please type in your questions in the chat box and we can discuss those at the end of her presentation. So without further ado, it's my honor to welcome you, Dana. So I turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, Jillian, and also for all of your hard work to support all of us with iRise. And we can't get through this alone, and having organizations that can support us and give us information and empowerment is a huge part of our healing and recovering process. So I also applaud you for all of your incredible work, and thank you for having me today. I'll share my screen just to give us a little bit of some visuals to also guide me through this conversation. And as Jillian said, I'm really here to share with you my story, not only as a breast cancer patient now of 12 years, but also my own experience and how it led me to really pave a different path for those of us that are undergoing breast surgeries related to our cancer diagnosis, and really using that vehicle of what I've developed and created with AnaOno as a part of your healing process and your recovery journey, because we know that the pieces don't get put back together so simply and so easily, and we need a little bit of help along the way. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story and about AnaOno, and I'm excited to answer all of your questions. If anything pops up as I'm speaking, please feel free to include that in the chat. I'll be peeking at that from time to time. And also, if you want to share with everybody where you're from, I love communicating as a group, even though we're here virtually. So if you want to share anything about where you're from, maybe what your diagnosis is, how far along you are, what's a big question that you would like to have answered, in regards to, your experience, I'm happy to engage in all of those ways. So excited to see what comes in through the chat. As Jillian said, I'm Dana Donofree. I am the founder of AnaOno, which is my intimates line that I created after my own double mastectomy with implant reconstruction. So we're going to talk about learning to love a new body. So how do you choose what parts of you do you want to heal, for when and for how? And if that's your mind, your body, and your spirit, because all three of those are very important pillars to us as patients and survivors. And you can't heal all of those things at one time. Maybe you can, maybe you're a superstar, but I think, each of these pillars of our lives really require very dedicated attention to focusing on recovering and healing these parts of ourselves, because as we're all painfully aware, breast cancer is a very physical disease. It often will take our hair, our eyebrows, our breasts, our nipples, our ovaries, like that list just goes on and on and on. And I feel like breast cancer just takes and takes and takes. So as you're going through all of these processes, kind of setting up these pillars in your own mind and in your own heart and in your own body, because each one is going to heal at its own pace. And even though the body might heal the fastest, it might heal the slowest. The mind might be struggling and the spirit might be crushed, right? So hopefully we can talk this through a little bit and give you some tools to heal and recover. So I was 27 years old when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. That was 12 years ago. I'm there with my very loving and caring mother. This is pre-smartphone. So this is an actual photograph that's been scanned. But this is like one of two images I have before my double mastectomy surgery. This was not a moment in time in my life that I wanted to have photographed. I'm really sort of the person that when you see it, that's when it becomes manifested. That's when it becomes a creation. And when you don't see it, you can move on past it and move on a little bit further. But in 2010, I was diagnosed a day before my 28th birthday. I had found a small lump in my upper part of my armpit where my wrist had just so simply rubbed up against my armpit tissue. And I just felt a tiny little bump under my skin. And I never, ever thought that was going to be breast cancer. I don't have an incredible family history. It's not something that's been on our radar. I mean, of course, my mom had friends that had gotten diagnosed. I had an aunt that was diagnosed pretty much right before I was born. And there was awareness in my environment, but there was not an awareness that young women got breast cancer. These are all older women in my eyes at the age of 27. And at that point in time, in 2010, we were still very much looking at breast cancer as being, grandma's disease. So when I found my lump and I called the doctor, I didn't expect that the answer was going to be breast cancer. I thought it was going to be dense breast tissue, just like all of my friends and sister and everybody else that had gone to the doctor. But my story did not lead in that direction. I received my diagnosis on, as I mentioned, the day before my 28th birthday. It was actually just a few months before my planned wedding. So I was having my bridal shower at home in Ohio with all of my friends and family that I'd grown up with and had been a huge part of my life. Crying harder than I've ever cried, laughing harder than I've ever laughed, because every time I had to welcome somebody into my bridal shower, I pretty much hugged them, told them I had breast cancer and that I didn't know if I was getting married, but I was really happy that they were there. And it was a really unfortunate time in my life, but I was happy to be surrounded by people that really loved and cared about me while I was embarking in this new world of what was going to be the rest of my life. So I was diagnosed with stage 1 invasive ductal carcinoma. I'm HER2 positive and ER positive. I underwent a bilateral mastectomy with implant reconstruction under the muscle. I just converted to over the muscle in December of last year, which is a total game-changing experience for me. I went through 6 rounds of chemotherapy. My last round of chemo is what almost killed me. My platelets had dropped dangerously low, and I was at a super high risk of a bleed out. So I had received several platelet transfusions as a portion of keeping me well, and had 8.5 years of hormone suppressing drugs. I was on Herceptin for a year. So I was on tamoxifen for 5 years. And it was right when the study had come out that Lupron and tamoxifen was a better combination, as well as an extended time frame. So I made it another 3.5 years before I decided to take myself off of all of my treatment due to the monstrous side effects that I was addressing and facing as I was going through that treatment. But all of this, as it is for all of us, right, as it's such an impactful, important piece of, and pivotal, maybe pivotal piece of our life. And for me, it was pivotal on many, many different levels. And the biggest level was my identification of how was I, as a 20-year-old breast cancer patient, going to advocate and adapt to this new world called breast cancer when there was no path that was paved for me. In 2010, I often say, we weren't really using smartphones. I think Instagram might have just launched, and it was really about posting pretty photos. Like, your Facebook friends were literally your friends. I don't even know. I think Amazon was still selling books, right? So it was just such a different era. And as a fashion designer, which I've been my entire life, since I was 8 years old, It was literally when I started making clothing. So I can pretty much say my entire life. I just really wanted to take something that I knew I could do and help impact others. And I think like there was such a discovery process of me going through my own healing process, from not being able to look at myself in the mirror, to not being able to be intimate with my partner, to barely being able to get out of bed to go to work because of anxiety and depression and all of those things, that I realized that I was building something with a bra that fit my new body that was more than just a bra. The bra was a vehicle and a gateway to so many things that were missing in my life. The biggest thing that was missing in my life was me being able to dress myself. So as a fashion designer, I was not able to express myself in the ways that I knew how to express myself. And I just wanted to be able to share that with other people. And I never knew where it was going to go. I never had any expectations. I just knew it needed to be done. I knew that we needed something better than these horrible grandma mastectomy bras made out of polyester and all of this nastiness. That's where I started creating. And as I started creating, I realized I was sort of leaning in the earlier 3 pillars, the mind, the body, and the spirit, into these worlds that I was transitioning throughout my journey. And I kind of call it the 5 R's. Recovery, reclaim, reveal, revive, and refresh. And I like leaning into this moment because I don't associate to the term new normal. It literally makes me cringe. But I understand what we're trying to say when we're saying new normal, because there's a lot of what was run of the mill in our lives. There was a lot of what I experienced before cancer that I didn't quite understand. Why was it going to be different after my cancer? And for me, we're relearning how to step into our own world. We're relearning how to express ourselves and love ourselves and be an active part in this recovery process. And so you'll see throughout AnaOno, but also through this, that this is an important piece to me, because recovering obviously is obvious, but then you go through all of these other phases as to what is next after your recovery. And you're relearning all of these phases of your life to adapt them into ways that need adapting based upon your treatment, your body, and all of the bits and pieces that come around that. So I mentioned earlier, creating AnaOno is a part of the who and the what that I am. I never necessarily stepped out as a young breast cancer patient saying, I'm going to be an advocate, I'm going to be an activist. I just knew that the skills and the talent and expertise that I had could be applied in this environment to make lives better, especially my own life. It was very, very selfish. I'll be completely honest. I just wanted to feel beautiful. I wanted to feel sexy. I wanted something that was going to make me confident. And I realized I was making all of these things for myself. Why not share it with the world? And that's what really propelled into the story. And oh my God, I'm just noticing, I'm literally wearing the same shirt that was in that photo from forever ago. So how funny. But creating AnaOno was like my creative outlet for so many amazing reasons and parts and pieces of my life. Obviously, as an artist, as a creator, this is my outlet to express myself and to share my story with the world. But it was also what I got back, which was such a huge impact on my life as it is today, why I advocate so hard for this disease, for young women with this disease, for marginalized communities, for stage 4, because I realized that there were no voices before my diagnosis. We were leaning on the voices of much, much older women that many, many times were actually sweeping their cancer under the rug rather than talking and expressing it and exposing it. So for the last, 12 years, over a decade, it's really been my goal to change the conversation, to shine a light on some of the pieces and parts that we don't talk about, to share a very personal story, one that's very intimate, and has all different levels and layers to it, because I felt like if I could be strong enough to share, then I could encourage and empower other people to share too. And eventually the world might actually understand what we are going through when we're diagnosed with breast cancer. So as we talk, we start about this recover moment, right? This recovery moment. It's not just about your surgery. Of course, it's about your surgery. I think so many parts and pieces of the early generation of AnaOno was just that I felt like as a patient, I was getting so dismissed in the ways that I felt, the ways that I wanted to think about what my life was going to look like. And excuse me, I don't think that the medical professionals at that point really cared about how did you recover from your surgery? How does it feel to be walking around with a bald head through chemotherapy? How, how sensitive are your skin, and what are you supposed to be wearing to make yourself comfortable? I mean, I had to go to work every single day. I was 28 years old during treatment. So it's like, how was I supposed to get out of bed and like go and enter into the world if I couldn't dress myself, if I had drains coming out of my body, if I couldn't move my arms? It was just all of these issues you don't realize until you realize. And I often lean into this, like, you don't know what you don't know. And since I didn't know anybody with breast cancer that intimately before my surgery, I didn't really have a whole lot of tips and tricks. I really was figuring it out 100% on my own. So I say recovery because for me, 12 years later, I'm still in recovery. I would like to say or provide a more positive light, but every day, every moment, it's something new, or, a doctor's appointment. We all know what those lingering pains feel like, and what that emotional turmoil is as you address that. Medication differences. I've been through menopause twice now. I'll be lucky if I do it a third time naturally. So, these are all like ongoing parts and pieces that we deal with as cancer patients that we don't necessarily have on the top surface. And recovering is the most important thing, because if you feel good, you'll heal better. And if you can just think that you don't feel like a patient, you don't feel like a lab rat, you don't feel some of these things because you're actually identifying as your own human rather than as a patient, you can really focus on the parts and pieces of your mind and your body and your spirit that need to be healing while the body is undergoing so much trauma. And that's really, our first phase is recovering, and it's not always temporary. Recovery could last a lifetime. And I think that that's really important to understand and share in that. And once the dense part of the recovery comes through, right, we want to start reclaiming the parts and pieces of our life that we've lost in the process, because cancer treatment is not easy. I don't have to tell any of you any of those details, because I know that you understand that. And what happens is, as you're reclaiming those identity, that new identity, maybe you've gone flat after your mastectomy. Maybe you've decided to only remove the infected breast and keep your natural breast. Maybe you've decided to rebuild. Maybe you're still going through treatment and you're making your decisions. Reclaiming and reloving your new body is incredibly difficult, and it's very challenging. And nobody can do that work but ourselves. And I think it's really important to know that it's okay. It's okay if you don't love yourself. It's okay if you have body dysmorphia. It's okay if you're upset and angry and mad and frustrated. It's okay, because each of those are things that you have to unpack in this reclaiming process. It's not, you don't just snap your fingers after your surgery is done, wake up and say, I feel great. I look great. I love myself. All of these things are happening. Like, please, if you have that experience, like, empower and encourage us all. But I think that there's a feeling, there's so many feelings that are getting unpacked in these moments, that reclaiming who am I going to be when I'm coming out the other side is a process. And we want to be able to look good. We want to be able to feel good, but we also need to understand the who and the what we've become. And that's a part of reclaiming through all of that process. And as you enter into revealing, right? I see reveal as this moment where you've come to terms and you've done some of the work on the mind, body, and spirit, but you're not necessarily all the way there. This is, to me, this is the pillar I'm constantly trying to aspire to conquer in a certain kind of a way. But there is this reality that as you go through the reclaiming process and you're ready to reveal, it doesn't necessarily have to be to a partner or to a loved one or in an intimate setting. It's got to be to yourself. My personal story is I was unable to look at myself in the mirror, physically and emotionally. After my surgery, I just felt so battered and so bruised that the reflection that was coming back at me was not what I wanted to see. It's not who I was in my head, but it was physically what I was embodying. And I could not connect what I was feeling emotionally and inside to what the world was seeing physically from me. And that took me a very, very long time to get through that. You saw in the earlier photo, I have a cherry blossom tree tattooed around my torso in effort to literally mask and hide the scars of my mastectomy and my missing nipples, because I was not able to look at myself in the mirror. And I was not able to wear a beautiful bra to cover it all up. So I literally went as far as tattooing it on my body so I could just glimpse at myself in the mirror. And as an artist and as a creator, I sort of said to myself, if I have to look at this destruction every day of my life, if I have to see this scar every day of my life, I don't think I'm going to make it. It carried too much trauma. I wish we would talk more about PTSD when we talk about cancer treatment. I think we're getting there, which is great, but it's a very real human reaction. And the visual representation of my scars on my body were my constant reminder of what all I had been through and how horrible it was. And I said to myself, if I could look at something beautiful in the mirror, rather than seeing the scars, it would help impact my life on a daily basis. And it did. And I was one of the first mastectomy tattoos that was published in mainstream media. And I just made a post a few weeks ago because when my article first went out about my mastectomy tattoos, the comments were full of nothing but hate and disgust and grossness and people just trolling on the internet. And I laughed because just a few months ago, Good Housekeeping posted a story on mastectomy tattoos. And I thought to myself, wow, how far we've come, but it only took us a decade to get here, which is, trust me, way too long. So there's a lot of processing and healing throughout this whole process, and revealing that to yourself and also to the world is part of that. Revive is one of my favorites because Revive is such a important piece of who and what we are. And it's not just getting your physical strength back. It's getting your strength back in your spirit, getting out for a walk, exercising, enjoying the fresh air, moving your body that you do get to live in, whether you're faced with an early stage disease or a late stage disease. We still have to nourish and train our system to protect us as much as it can when it can. And the Revive process to me was that ability to really say, I'm going to take control of my own health and my own well-being and my own wellness, because to me, it matters. To me, I should want to get stronger, feel stronger, be stronger, get healthy. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I strive to be perfect? Yes. But the pain and the aches and the exhaustion and the anxiety, all of these things compound and can really get in your way in this stage. So it's something that I'm always striving to accomplish. And I think that as we can learn to love this new body, we can also learn to see what does it have left in it. I was always so afraid. Can I do a push-up? Can I lift more than 5 pounds? Can I do all these things that my doctors told me I couldn't do? And even though I was stretching my own boundaries, my own limits, I also wanted to be safe and not hurt myself. So you're kind of always in this like ebb and flow of like, well, I used to be able to, but I can't do that now. And it's like really kind of trying to change your own rhetoric and saying, okay, maybe I can't do a push-up today, but I can do the rowing machine, or I can do something else, right? Like trying to not focus on the things that you can't, but the things that you can. And hopefully, let's see if this plays. I'd love to try to share just a little bit of inspiration behind this collection and how it worked out. I have to say that still it gets me every time I watch it. But, you know, I think that is, that story is so many of our stories, and we share so much into all of these different feelings and emotions. I think that's why it gets me every time, because it still brings up a lot inside myself. But hopefully that empowered you a little bit, gave you some inspiration to get out there and keep moving. And lastly is just refresh. I have to say that this is probably one of the newest pillars that's been added more recently. And this refresh moment really has come from my own personal experience of facing breast cancer for 12 years. It's exhausting. And I think that even though it's exhausting, it's also very hopeful and inspiring. And I didn't see this light. I didn't get the chance to kind of touch that emotion and that feeling until I was actually off of my treatment and through the sort of side effect turmoil of the treatment in a certain kind of a way, because there was such a cloud over me, both physically and mentally and in my spirit, as I was going through recovery as a young breast cancer patient. In 2010, 12 years ago, we're not even talking about the same treatment courses. When I say I was attending a funeral once a month for my friends that were passing away, that's a very real statement. And it's why I advocate so hard for stage 4. Because out of the dozens of friends I've had since my early part of my diagnosis, there's really only 5 of us left. And that's a very, very real survivor's guilt and pain that you carry, wondering why are you the one making it and others aren't. And being on medication for 8.5 years, what it does to your body and your mind, it can be debilitating. And I think that when I decided to take another step in my own control and my own space into my life, I was able to take some control back to a certain level, knowing that my choices were not going to start or stop or affect if my cancer was going to come back or not. The cancer is going to come back. It's going to come back. I can only do my best, but I needed to live as full of a life as I possibly could in that moment. And so the refresh has come by being able to look at the last 10 years and seeing how far I've come, and what opportunities and possibilities there are for so many of us. Even with, stage 4 progression has so many treatments that have come out in the last 1 to 3 years, and so many more on the horizon. I'm very hopeful that we can extend our lifespans and extend the treatment so desperately needed by this community. And getting a chance to just breathe. I think for myself, I don't give myself enough of that. So to have this sort of refreshing moment where it's looking not at cancer in the past, because for me, that's not my experience, but what is my life going to look like in the future? It was a big shift for me when I hit 10 years that I still live every day inside the day and inside the moment. But I was never able to really see too far into the future. Tomorrow was the next day, and tomorrow was all I needed to get to. I'm not saying I'm on the 5, 10, or 20-year planning path, but I can at least plan ahead. And that does feel very refreshing to me. So I include this last pillar because you might not be there today, and that's okay. But knowing that it will come, and you will earn it, and it will find its own way into your life, and you will get there. It will get there. Time will allow you to celebrate in this way. And so just as a recap here, as we finish up and open up for Q&A, my 3 biggest lessons that I feel like I've learned as I've been building these pillars, both around me personally, but also through the lens and the eyes of AnaOno, is that we need to learn how to make the best decisions for ourselves when it matters. Making my decision to have aggressive breast cancer treatment may be what has kept me here today. My decision to have my mastectomy tattoo instead of going the traditional nipple route was really empowering to me. And deciding to go off my medication has led me into a new chapter of my survivorship that I never really thought or expected to see. So make the decisions that are best for you and right for you. How do you and can you feel sexy after breast cancer? Yes, I will take our own paths to get there, and don't feel discouraged if you don't, and don't feel upset or sad if you don't, because sexy is inside of us. That's inside of our minds and our spirits. It's not our physicality. So remember that, and unpack it in that way so you can really start identifying what makes you feel confident, what makes you feel sexy, what makes you feel loved, and work on those things first, because it might not come physically, but it can come through your heart, through your mind. And being brave, because the choices that are right for you are not always the best, or might not always be the choices that others see for you. So you don't have to do everything that everybody tells you or recommends or prescribes. The choice is up to you. I mean, it can have health impact. So you have to be sure that you are making a very educated and informed decision. But at the end of the day, the choice is yours. And of course, if you haven't visited AnaOno, I'm always here. We have an incredible group. I love what I've been able to express and build over the last 8.5 years. We mentioned earlier that we're boob inclusive, but that's because there's so many chests and surgery decisions that happen throughout the surgery process. So if you've had implants, if you've had flap reconstruction, if you have one breast, if you're flat, you can go to shop by body type on our website and see all of the bra designs on a body that's reflective of your own. That was such a huge part for me when I was creating AnaOno, that all these mastectomy bra lines were trying to sell me bras on healthy models with healthy breasts, with beautiful cleavage, and I didn't have any of those things. So it's always been very important to me to represent and show the world and the customers and the world and the patients that are affected by the disease. I mean, our models are our customers, and our customers are our muse. So you guys are the community. You are what keeps me inspired every single day. So don't hesitate to reach out and share, because you know what, you got this, and we're all here to support you. And with amazing organizations like iRise Above, you can get the resources and the help and the community that you deserve. And you don't have to face this alone. And that's why at AnaOno, we say never alone, because we want to make sure that you know that we're always here for you. So again, I'm Dana Donofree. If you're wondering where AnaOno comes from, it's me, Dana Donofree, without the double D's. But maybe that will help you remember. But please reach out to me on Instagram, social media. I can put my contact in the chat. Always here to help. And if you have any fit questions or issues, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And I will also drop a really special discount code for all of you attending. So if you would like to stock up on some AnaOno, I'm giving you all a special buy one, get one free discount code. So don't share it, secret to your group, but I really appreciate you listening today and tuning in. And thank you so much for letting me share my story.
Oh, Dana, thank you so much. I mean, I was listening to you speak, and there's just so much that resonated for me. I mean, I think I just this August, I don't know if I say celebrated, but recognized that it was 10 years since my original diagnosis, and it was packed with a lot of emotion because I could relate to exactly what you were saying about that time and how far we've come in a decade plus, right? I was newly pregnant. I didn't know anybody who had breast cancer as a young woman. And so, you know, just like you, I went through this whole gamut of emotions, and I had to create a world that I wanted to see. And so I really, really appreciate you doing that and following, you know, what brings you joy, fulfilling something that you needed in your life, because it's look at what it's done for so many women. I mean, it's incredible. I could really relate. I have a little notes that I was writing as you were speaking, but you know, I could completely relate to not being able to look in the mirror and recognize who that person was. You know, I had all of my life, I always had a big mane of hair, and here I had this pregnant belly. I had one breast,
yeah,
and I was bald, and I just, you know, and I had scars, and I had a hard time with intimacy, and so I just so appreciate what you created so that we can still feel beautiful, because that's so part of the equation, right? For us is to still feel, you know, that we love ourselves and our own skin, and it doesn't have to be for anybody else. I mean, I could wear your pieces just around my house when no one's home. My
good.
my floors kind of thing.
That's what they're there for.
And you know, another thing that really resonated for me, a mentor of mine, when I first was diagnosed 10 years ago, gave me a book, what do you call it for the book? Bookmark with that Martin Luther King quote that is, you know, which is what I think the video was built on, that concept. And I think that is so true. You know, so many women come into our programs at different, you know, at their different places in their recovery. Some are just newly diagnosed and haven't started their treatments or even a surgery yet. And then we have women who join who are 10 years out, but it's, you know, it's all about those small steps. And I think that that video was beautifully executed. Where can I find that, just to share that with our group, our wellness program? That would be amazing to share that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, it's on our AnaOno YouTube channel, but I can definitely like share you the link. You can see many of our videos, all of which have sort of been you know, a rendition of some part or phase of my own recovery process, from our very, very first launch video to the sports bras to some of our videos from New York Fashion Week. We have a beautiful video that talks about stage 4 metastatic disease, so please tune into that. But yeah, there's some really great pieces. I mean, some of them are embarrassing because they're 9 years old now, but it's still really nice that they're there in the archive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really great, and I love what you do for my specific, you know, stage 4 community. And I am so grateful that, you know, our voices are starting to be heard more and more, and that there's so many advances in treatment for metastatic breast cancer. For those that are on this this webinar or listening, we do every June and July, we do a webinar where in June we talk about advances in early early stage treatments. And then in July, we always do advanced breast cancer treatments. And in particular, this past July, there's been some significant advancements that I was really happy to see. So, you know, it's all about moving forward. And so that I'm grateful. So I think that we have some Q&A and some chats in the group. So we have from Leanne says, thank you. I had a beautiful fitting experience post-mastectomy. Thank you for your work. So appreciate all of these reminders. Such great reminders. I just loved everything about your talk. It was just so good.
Thank you.
Is there anything, anyone in the audience want to say anything, ask a question, comment? No? Oh, amazing. So what I'll do, Dana, is I'll share this discount code with the registered participants. Specifically, I'll copy. I better do that now so I don't. And so that they have the recording to listen to it again if they wish, and then also go shopping. I know I will.
Yeah, well, thank you. We all deserve to feel beautiful and special inside our own skin. So hopefully it just gives everybody a little bit of a boost. But I'm very honored to be here and to share with all of you. So thank you for having me, Jillian. It means a lot.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Well, if there's nothing else that anyone wants to say or questions to ask, we'll conclude this for today. So have a great day, everyone.